Okay, hi everybody, and welcome to our recap of the first day of the big 5G transport symposium. And I'm here with Gabe Brown, the main guy, I would say, from the first day of the event. You had all the interesting stuff. I think, Gabe, that was all the stuff I was interested in. Was network slicing and Open RAN. You covered a lot of ground on that on the first day of the show. And so I think maybe do you want to just say what your big takeaways were from that event? I mean, was there anything that you walked away with sort of a new understanding or anything interesting that you saw?
Yeah. So I'm a co-host an event with Sterling. I think you can speak to him. He's running three of the four sessions, in fact. So the session I ran was the opening session on RAN architecture and implications on 5G transport. These are kind of related, and you need to sort of optimize both to get a good outcome, right? RAN and transport together, they play on each other. In terms of big takeaways, I mean, we discussed a lot about the kind of different deployment scenarios. One of the points I argued and made, I think, quite clearly is we're now really into the ramp phase of 5G deployment. You know, it's over 100 networks live. The lead markets are doing big volume of cell sites. We're not quite there yet in most other markets, but I think that's coming. You know, we're really on the train now. So through this year, 21, 22, we're going to see lots and lots of cell sites deployed and live. And therefore, the question is, you know, what implications of that for transport? So we talked about things like, you know, just basic things like what are the speeds and feeds? What interface speed do you need at a cell site? The finding
And
there.
that was like it was not 10G. It was they were talking about 25G.
Yeah, so 10 gig is a popular option, right? And some people are still using a gig in some places and things. I mean, 10 gig itself is a big upgrade for most sites. But yeah, there was several of the operators, in fact, pretty much all the speakers said, yeah, is 10 gig is most common for now, but 25 gig is what they're really looking at. I think it was the speaker from TELUS and actually Sienna and Adva, those guys as well. They said, yeah, one of the reasons they like 25 gig is because it's coming out of the data center market. So volumes are high, cost points are, you know, consequently attractive, and it gives you some sort of growth and headroom for future as you deploy more sites or as you hub sites, things like that. The main challenge with it is to kind of harden it and give it some of the telco features that they need to actually run reliable 5G RAM.
And I think during your session, you touched a little bit on network slicing, but it was also discussed by, like you said, Sterling during his session yesterday, and then I assume he'll talk about it more during the rest of the event. But did you what did you think about that discussion around network slicing? And the reason I ask is because I sort of walked away from it with the thought of it continues to look interesting, but it does not feel ready for prime time. It's more of a isn't this cool kind of thing versus a here's something that we're going to implement and make money from.
I think it is pretty cool. I think it's not sort of commercial prime time just yet, but one of the things to keep in mind is before that happens, operators and their vendors and the ecosystem has to do a lot of work in the preparation phase, getting it ready, deciding the architecture, and then building out the network to support it. So it may not be prime time commercially right now, but if you're not working on it now, it's not going to be for even longer. So there's a lot of investment, kind of intellectual and financial, already going into being able to support that application.
And the other thing is, I think you probably have been spending a lot of your time on it. I certainly have, is that topic of Open RAN, which is sort of indirectly related to transport. But I know you spent some time talking about that. And my takeaway was that, you know, Open RAN is a hurry up and wait scenario. And what did you think of the you know, of all the excellent speakers that were at the event yesterday? Any takeaways from that on Open RAN?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit the same answer as you mentioned on network slicing. To actually be able to support an Open RAN deployment, there are quite a few dependencies and things you have to do. So you have to be working on it now to be ready, you know, in a year, 2 years, 3 years, whenever your choice is. Actually, I think the speakers were unanimous in saying that the prospect of Open RAN is already impacting decisions that they're making in transport architecture and deployment right now today. In many ways that could sort of manifest, but I think the one of them to pick up on perhaps is on the architecture side. So going with Open RAN is perhaps the idea of virtualization or cloudification. So you move to these kind of there's a potential, not quite sure if it's going to happen at what rate, but to move to this cloud RAN architecture. So you're more centralized, different functions. You're therefore running packet front haul. And you can start to see how Open RAN actually maps into quite a lot of the other sort of challenges and opportunities there are in 5G transport.
Gotcha. Well, there you go. All right. Well, that's all I had for you, Gabe. I appreciate your time today, and I'm looking forward to the next day of the show and see what other fun stuff Sterling comes up with. Anyway, I'll call that. Thanks everybody for joining us today. We'll see you later.